Magic has been through a lot in 2020. The way that we've been performing at the beginning of the year certainly doesn't match the same way that we've been performing at the end of the year, but a lot of great things have come out of it as well. I've been asked to share my favorite things in Magic from 2020, and I was excited to do so because it got me thinking about the things that I actually went through and performed with and things I thought about in Magic this year. So I figured I'd start with some tricks that I think that came out this year that I was performing early on. The first being one of my favorite tricks was Pocket Nightmare by Max Maven. If you're not familiar with this trick, you tell your audience you're going to do a trick with one hand in your pocket. So you take one hand and you put it in your pocket, and you do the rest of the trick with just your left hand. And you have the spectator glance at a card, they remember it, and then the card disappears from the deck. You hand the spectator to the audience, they spread through it, they can't find the card, and then you reveal that it's been in your pocket the entire time. So you take your hand out of your pocket and you show them the card. Fantastic trick. I highly recommend you head over to Penguin Magic and watch the performance of it because it'll really fool you. And it fooled everybody I was showing it to. I was lucky enough to perform on a couple late night talk shows earlier on in the year. One in particular was The Lowdown with James Yon. A fantastic show, fantastic host with a friend of mine, Mike Herlihy. So that was like the perfect trick to do in that scenario, right? Just like a one-of parlor style effect. And I got to do it in a variety of shows as well. The other place that I was performing it was at Blackpool. And we had just released it. Blackpool back in, feels like a million years ago at this point, but Blackpool back in 2019 in Blackpool, England, the biggest Magic convention there was. Pocket Nightmare was a huge hit there, and it was so much fun to see Max and show everybody the trick. So Pocket Nightmare is a great trick now. It's going to be a great trick forever, but it was definitely one of the first tricks that I was performing this year. The other trick that I was performing a ton before everything kind of changed was a trick called Arrested by Adrian Vega. This is a fantastic trick that I'm not sure landed on everybody's radar this year. Basically what happens here is you have two spectators choose two different cards, and they're free choice. You have people choose cards, and what happens is you say they get shuffled and freely lost into the deck. That's what I was trying to say. And you tell your audience that you're going to get them out of the deck, but you're going to do it with some restraint, right? So you tear a couple holes in the cards and you stick your thumbs through it, and now you have like this weird pair of thumb cuffs, right? It's really pretty fun. And then you have a couple comedy attempts where you try to find the card, but you can't. And at the end, it's revealed you tear the thumb cuffs in half, the card in half, and one side is spectator A's card, and the other half is spectator B's card. The gaff is super clever, but the thing is, it's just a really fun routine that gets amazing reactions. I went and saw, and I was trying to think of the movie. I think it was called The Boys. I mean, there were so many boys movies that came out, but it was a movie about younger kids. That doesn't matter. Anyway, it was a comedy movie that everybody said was good. That came out last year or this year. Doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is, I went to the movie, bumped into a friend of mine who is in a big touring band, and they just happened to be there. This movie theater kind of has like a bar in the front of it, and. So I sat down and started showing everybody some card tricks and stuff, just catching up with people. And I busted Arrested out, and it hadn't come out yet. I was still working on it, and it was still very bare bones in my own hands. And man, I think that was probably the first time I performed it. So the reaction really kind of took me by surprise. Not because I didn't think it was going to be a good trick, but just, sometimes those tricks come about where you think, okay, this is going to be a great trick, and then you do it, and it's like, oh man, that's even better than I thought it would be. Arrested totally fell into that category. And I had a great chance to go out to Vegas and perform it for some people out there, and it's just every time I ever did it was great. So it's called Arrested. Again, you can find it on Penguin Magic by Adrian Vega, and it's just a great, a different type of card trick that your audience is not going to see coming from you because you've probably never shown them anything quite like this one, right? So then there's another trick that I was performing a lot, and this one has some back history to it as well, and that was deck to shoe. So even at the beginning of this year, I was still performing deck to shoe all the time. This is a great trick by Matt Mello. But Matt sent it to us years ago. It just never actually came out until this year. And what it is basically you have a card selected, signed, and that card will vanish from the deck and it ends up underneath your shoe. It's great, kind of a classic plot almost, and the fact that you can do it signed is even cooler, right? So that's great. But then the second phase of this is that the signed card goes back into the deck. You say you're going to do it again under like test conditions, right? Because everybody's like watching you really close now. So you do it again, except this time it's not the card that disappears from the deck, it's the deck disappears, right? The deck vanishes except for the spectator's card. So now you're just left holding the spectator's card. And then you lift up your shoe. Of course, there's no deck under there, but the deck ends up inside your shoe, right? And this is just, you know, for a trick that you can do really with any deck of cards, I was really taken with it. And I was getting amazing reactions. I mean, I always thought this was the type of trick that you'd see David Blaine doing in his like first Street Magic special or something like that. I liked it so much that I ended up doing it. I developed a parlor version for it and ended up performing it at the Magic Castle when I performed out there in feels like a million years ago. I think 2019 at this point. But what a fantastic routine. But this year I also did a lecture, my second Penguin Live lecture, which you can check out as well. This is one of the featured pieces in it. I had just put so much work into this routine, so I was really happy to get a chance to not only do another Penguin Live lecture, but share this particular routine on there as well, because it really has become one of my go-to performance pieces as well. Some of the last gigs I did this year before everything shut down were down at Wizards Magic Theater in Kissimmee, Florida, and Deck to Shoe was one that I was doing. I had to fill in to host a couple times, and Deck to Shoe was one that really served me well down there. I got a lot of great responses from the magicians that were seeing it. So Deck to Shoe, it's an instant download on Penguin Magic. I also teach my version on my Penguin Live lecture, so you can check that out as well. One of the other things that I'm just very lucky to be able to do working here at P3 is occasionally I will also host some of the Penguin Live lectures whenever Dan Harlan isn't available to do so, or he does need a break sometimes. So as of this filming, I've probably done about a dozen of them or so. I always feel really lucky every time it happens, but this time I got to host Christopher Carter live. Now, up until the filming, I think I had heard his name, but I was unfamiliar with anything that he had done. And man, that guy showed up and just kind of blew my mind out, right? So basically who he is, he's a working mentalist. He used to do a lot of colleges and corporate stuff, but just worked. That's probably why I never really had heard much about him before. All of his routines that he shared were complete workers, and the performances that you see are in front of full crowds, and you can just tell these are things that he's done. Every routine is a 1,000-timer for him. And he knows every moment, every detail, why he's standing here, when he's putting the microphone down. He knows all the nuances, and you get all that stuff in his lecture. I basically sat there in awe the entire time. I just felt super lucky to be there to be able to learn some of these routines. And later on this year, I had to start thinking about a little bit more about mentalism and some of the work that I was doing. So that lecture was an invaluable resource for the entirety of this year for me, because there's just so much gold in there. I'll give you a couple highlights. The Pegasus page that he teaches in there is great. His 3-billet routine. I mean, every routine's great. I don't even know how I have highlights, but there's a phone routine in there about a phone number that will blow your mind when you see it. There's an animation of a broomstick. I mean, just cool stuff. So it was really ecstatic to be able to host Christopher Carter's lecture, because I really do think it was one of the best ones this year. And just to give you a little tease here, I've been talking about it on some of our streams that we've been doing lately. I do think we're going to be able to have an award show this year where we're going to be able to hand out lecture of the year, trick of the year, magician of the year, all that type of stuff for Penguin Magic, which is going to be really fun. It's probably going to air in January. And I have no doubt, I can't imagine a world where Christopher Carter Live isn't in the running for lecture of the year. So just stay tuned here on Penguin Magic YouTube, and you'll know when that's going to happen for sure. Moving on, I also, not only do I host Penguin Live occasionally, I also do a lot of the editing here at P3. And, you know, some projects are more fun to work on than others. Not that the material's bad, just sometimes we're handed really fun props. And what I'm trying to say is, you know, if you saw the Screams at Midnight deck of cards, you know what I'm talking about. This was like a really kind of like horror movie style deck of cards that was designed by Kevin Rayleck and Phil Smith. It's a marked deck, and also the design is in 3D. So that's really cool as well, right? It's marked, and it's marked in one of the most clever ways I've ever seen. You can find all the details about it on Penguin Magic. It'll show you exactly how it is marked, so you can see how that works. But I got to edit the demo for this, which is just one of my favorite things that I've probably edited. There's a big list of stuff that I'm really proud of, but Screams at Midnight, that edit came out particularly well. I get to film it with Eric Tate and Nick Popa, did a great job with all the footage, and then I was able to put together just this really, really cool, fun-looking edit. I also worked with a voice actor from the UK who just absolutely knocked who was he doing? Like Bela Lugosi voice out, just right out of the park, right? He just totally nailed it in that demo. So if you haven't seen it, not only is it a fun deck of cards, it would be a great gift, you know, for anybody in your family. It doesn't even have to be a magician, even though the deck is marked, but you could use that to your advantage, right? Great gift for Christmas if you're looking for one, and just a fun deck of cards. But head over to Penguin and see exactly how it's marked, because I think you'll think it's really, really, really clever. There's only a couple other things that I wanted to mention, and I left this one for last because I have one more thing to talk about this, but I left this one kind of for last because this became like a really big performance piece for me, and it was just one that I never saw coming. And now I'm not one to do the virtual shows. I just never jumped on that bandwagon this year, not because I have anything against it. I just wasn't interested in it, to be honest. Now I was interested in tricks that I could do virtually because I was hanging out with, you know, my friends and family online, and, you know, to be able to share anything with them was just fantastic. Just a shout out to Adrian LaCroix and Virtual Triumph, one of my favorite tricks to be able to share with anybody this year. I did that, you know, one of the biggest live streams I did this year was I think there was almost like 1,200 people on it for a live stream, and I was able to do Virtual Triumph to great success on that. So a shout out to Adrian for that. But there was a trick that came out, and this is fairly recent as of this filming. I think I want to just say about a month ago, called Divine, by Norberto Jansensen. I always it's got that double thing in there, Norberto Jansensen. And this is on Penguin Magic exclusively, I believe, because I think it came through the partner program, if I'm not mistaken. This trick kind of promised the moon. I don't even know how it first came across my plate, and we might have emailed about it, or maybe I just was looking at it. But basically it said, imagine if you could have your entire audience think of any card, the whole crowd chooses a card. And then with a ungimmicked, shuffled deck, you're able to find everybody's card in the entire room. And, you know, I was just kind of like, all right, you know, that's just a grand thing to say. But I just took the gamble and picked it up. And it turned out to be one of the best tricks, I think, this year for me. Number one, clearly it's expertly taught. Norberto has been doing this in his shows for clearly forever. You know, and I really appreciate that about this, because not only it is very well taught, but he's giving up a part of himself by sharing this routine, for sure. You're going to get great instruction, but you're also going to get live performances that he's done on television and, you know, on Zoom and everything. So I got to start doing this on some virtual, you know, gatherings that I was a part of, and instantly I knew, like, oh wow, this is something that I could do live as well. And then it just turned out, because I was just doing some shows here at the end of the year, you know, where the audience is spread apart and far away, this became like the perfect trick to do, because really you can use a shuffled deck. I mean, it could be borrowed, but I used the jumbo deck in my performances. There was something awesome about that. I don't ever use my jumbo cards for anything, but it was perfect for this. So shuffled deck, and you're able to have the entire room, no joke, the entire room gets to choose a card, and you find everybody's card. It was fun, it's quick, it's smart, the structure of the routine is like perfect. I can't say enough good things about it. So Divine, it's available on Penguin Magic, Noberto, Jansenson, bravo to Noberto. Not a trick that I thought I would be doing this year, but here we are. But that's the thing, I don't even think Noberto would have released it. I'm just speaking for him here, but he probably would never have even released it had it not been for what happened here in 2020. But he also discovered, I'm sure, that it was a perfect thing for the Zoom shows. He looks like he's got a great Zoom show and has been very successful in that as well. But we're almost here at the end, and probably, my favorite thing that we've done this 2020, and it had to happen because of everything that went on, was that we started streaming some shows here on Sunday nights. I do it with my friend Eric Tate every Sunday. We've been doing it every Sunday now, probably almost 6 months, I think, which is just crazy to think about. And essentially we started streaming a live podcast at first, and then it turned into we were just talking the top 20 tricks of the week. And now it's become this fully fledged show called Cool Box Live, where every week here on Penguin Magic, right here on YouTube, you can watch us live talk about a variety of tricks. I think, how many tricks is in each show? 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, almost 20 a week. And we give you discounts every week on Magic. And so it's anything that's in the show is 25% off. It's kind of like QVC of Magic. But so through this whole process, we've gotten our streaming stuff going. Eric and I have done this, in studio, remote, at home, figured out how to get that done. But most importantly, we've been able to talk with all of the Penguin Magic, customers and fans out there, answer questions, and give you great deals on Magic as well. So make sure you tune in every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we're giving deals out every week. And the deals are always good throughout the week. This is a shameless plug here at the end of this video, but it really has been one of my favorite things to be a part of this year. And I can't see it going away anytime soon. It's going to be really fun to continue it. But I look forward to getting back to doing conventions and seeing everybody in person again. We have some fun things. I mean, when it comes back and we can start doing max conventions again and things, it's just going to be, this whole virtual aspect is going to play a part in all of it somehow, and I'm really excited to see how all of that plays out. So thanks for sticking with us here at Penguin Magic for the entire year. I still get to do the job that I love, and hopefully you guys have really found some great Magic this year as well. But stay tuned for the Magic, the awards show. That's going to be a lot of fun as well this year. I think it's going to be a great way to cap it all off. Anyway, that's it. I've talked enough. My name's Nick. I'll see you next time.